You are listening to the Namibian's audio recording.
That Swapo takes is one of denying, of anger, of belittling those that pose questions. And so this morning we are reading that a journalist was assaulted. Jemima Beekers was assaulted. She's worried about her life. But at the same time, in the recent past, Hungary and others were saying, we must commend the president for a free press, free media, no journalist arrested. But while he was present at that event where a journalist and a woman for that matter was mistreated, he merely says, you like to exaggerate things. Now, if she was beaten up, was it also going to be an exaggeration? If something had happened to her life, was it not going to be an exaggeration? So we have these concerns. Now, before I start to speak in substance to what we have come for here today, one would like to pay tribute and wish strength to the family of Zinzi Mandela, the South African ambassador to Denmark, who passed on. She has been a staunch Pan-Africanist, a strong revolutionary, a woman who at a young age began to speak out her mind as her father was imprisoned and remained loyal to the cause of fighting for the genuine liberation of our black people. She leaves behind a very strong and admirable legacy of honesty, of integrity, and she leaves behind a legacy that many young women across the continent and indeed across the globe can and should emulate. One of hard work, one of strength of character, one of conviction, and one of service to the people that she dearly loves. So we wish the family, as they are gathering, all the best and all the strength, and we wish to appreciate her lifelong contributions to fighting for the recognition of women, the equality of women, the freedom for all who live in South Africa, indeed around the world. May her soul rest in peace. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we have witnessed yesterday the arrogance and the impotence of Swapo party to transform society. In fact, one can today say that Swapo and its actions have over the past 30 years deformed Namibian society, and that they today are faced with a very strong young constituency that is awakened and has a different view in respect of the approach of Swapo to politics, the approach of Swapo to the questions that require clear answers for national reconciliation, nation building, state building, and for future development. So I would directly say the following. President Geingob yesterday said that in respect of political donations to the Swapo party, they would do introspection to see where it has gone wrong. However, the questions are, does he therefore acknowledge that there was a problem in respect of the receipt, the distribution of the monies, and the inability to account as they should for the monies? Does the president want us to believe that he had no idea of where the political campaign would be funded from? If I, as leader of LPM, would today tell you that I do not know where the money for this party comes from, can I be believed in saying something of that sort to you people? Can a leader of a political party merely acknowledge that there was a problem in respect of the receipt of the monies and tell us that the nation must wait for a period of introspection. Is it correct for the president of Swapo, who also is in government, to suggest that it is sufficient for Swapo to be left alone to do its own introspection, while the resources that could have benefited a lot of projects across the country have been given to a political party for its own political efforts? Now we know, firstly, that in terms of the Electoral Act, all donations both from within and from outside the country must be disclosed to the ECN. Has that been done to the ECN? Does the ECN know where Swapo got money from, how much it got from whoever gave them? And is it correct for Swapo, through its president Geingob, to suggest that there is a difference between Swapo members and Swapo party? He seems to suggest that individuals received monies and not Swapo party. This is a very strange approach. If people are members of Swapo party, and in a political campaign they are fighting for their party to win votes, is Swapo then somewhere else and something artificial? If Swapo is not its membership, what is Swapo? Who is Swapo? And where is Swapo then? The distinction that they want to make and want Namibians to believe that it is okay for Swapo members to receive monies as long as it is not Swapo party is a fake one. It's a misleading one. It's a toxic one. It is a very rotten approach to reality itself. It is to suggest that Swapo is some sort of a different structure, alienated from its members, alienated from its leaders, and is something different with a different life that exists in another reality. So, we have also seen that the cracks within Swapo are deepening. Naas Gideon Angula, a failed Prime Minister, a failed Minister of Defense, a failed Minister of Education, has seemingly suggested that Swapo government must resign to save Swapo. Does he want us to believe that there is a different Swapo other than that of Geingob, that when they resign will rise up suddenly and rescue this country? Does he also want us to believe that some of them who are in Team Swapo are as clean as an unborn child, that they have never known about instances of corruption, that they have never known about the challenges of corruption that have grown bigger and bigger while they too were in the executive arm of the state? Why is it that now Angula behaves as if he has no knowledge, has no awareness of the strength of corruption that has been growing in this country for the past 30 years? The same also with Iivula-Ithana, where she seems to be saying that Swapo has been hijacked by money. Does the former Secretary General of Swapo want the people of this country to believe that upon her departing from that position and from active politics, that money suddenly became the problem? Is it not under their tutelage that monies were received from countries outside this republic? Donations were given by instances outside this country. Has Ithana and Nahas forgotten that during their period, there was also an institution called Anti-Corruption Commission, recognizing therefore the need that corruption has grown in this country, that it has become institutional, and that there needs to be a structure to fight the scourge of corruption? The point we are making here is that no leader within Swapo can claim that today, because they are outside government, that corruption is a problem of those in the government, and those of them that are outside the government have had nothing to do with corruption, that they could have spoken but they did not speak, and that today they want to claim a clean hand to ensure that they can win cheap political points. If at the expense of a problem that is so significant, Ithana and Nahas Angula want to use this problem as a means to score internal political points, it is not going to work. They too must do something bigger so that we can see that they are opposed to the scourge of corruption. Why don't they resign? Why don't they resign in protest and show us that they are making a permanent departure from an organization that, according to Ithana's words, is hijacked by money? What action is it that they expect or should be expected to take to ensure that Namibians can have trust in their concerns around corruption? Does the resignation, as NAS wants us to believe, of this current government, according to them, necessarily bring about a new day in this country? Our view is, whether it is the Geingob team that resigns or whether it is the Swapo team that comes to power, none of them, as the total Swapo brand, represent the interests of the people of this country at all. The days are gone when Swapo was recognized as the sole and authentic representative of the people of Namibia. And from this day on, we will call them for what they are, the Southwest African People's Organization, a party of a country that doesn't exist anymore. They have, just as they have not updated their name, remained in the past of the Southwest Africa we fought to get rid of. We are now in the Republic of Namibia, and we want them to act in terms of the laws of the Republic of Namibia. If we quickly have to look at the laws, there is the Prevention of Organized Crime Act of 2004 that came into force on the 5th of May 2019. This act is meant to introduce measures to combat organized crime, money laundering, and criminal gang activities, as well as to prohibit certain activities related to racketeering activities, and to provide for prohibition of money laundering and for an obligation to report certain information. This law also is meant to criminalize certain activities associated with gangs, to provide for the recovery of the proceeds of unlawful activities, to provide for the forfeiture of assets that have been used to commit an offense or assets that are the proceeds of unlawful activities, and of course, to prohibit the smuggling of immigrants and trafficking of persons and so on and so forth. This is the law that we have. In terms of this law, any person that could have reasonably known that there is a criminal activity in an organized fashion should have reported that activity to the police forces. Brings us to the question, did President Geingob know that his ministers were possibly involved in a criminal and organized activity of looting the state resources, in particular the fishing resources? Did he not know? Does he believe that we should believe that he did not know? As head of state, but also as head of government, our assessment is that the president should reasonably have known the activities of all his ministers, because he approves of those activities. He oversees those activities. Ministers report directly to the president, because unlike in other jurisdictions, the president is not only the head of state, but he is the head of government. All the work that they do is given through the mandate by the president. He should have known that there are criminal activities. It was his responsibility to know that there was looting. He also should reasonably have known, as the leader of Swapo, the Southwest African People's Organization, that there are criminal activities, that there is organized crime being perpetrated by those in the executive. If he tells us that he didn't know, it means therefore that he is not in control of both the government and of Swapo party, if he didn't know. But he should have known. And as he should have known, what is it that he did when, at the time, he began to know about the activities? Or was he himself the person given the instructions for the looting of the fishing sector? Because until now, he has not properly addressed the extent of his involvement. Others were saying that for his campaign to become president of Swapo, money was needed. They asked for money, according to Al Jazeera. The money was transferred. The money, it is alleged, was used to pay delegates to the Swapo Congress to elect him. Did he know that delegates were being paid to vote for him? What did he do? When did he know this? Who was part of those that were in charge of fundraising for him and for his campaign? Where is his campaign manager to clarify the receipt of monies, the distribution of monies, and the payment, as alleged, of Swapo Party Congress delegates to vote for Geingob? This point that we are raising is amplified by what Naz Angula said on Eagle FM, that he lost an election because he couldn't pay people to vote for him. And so there is an internal admission within Swapo that there was payment made to delegates to vote for a person. That those that did not win did not have the money to pay delegates and therefore they lost. There is an internal admission by senior leaders within Swapo that there was money doing rounds to pay people. There are lists of names being circulated as to who received how much. Does President Geingob deny that money was given to those people that are appearing on the list, including in Swapo WhatsApp groups? Did Shaninkwa also not know of monies that were making the rounds? And if they know, what is it precisely that they are going to do? Should it not be correct for Geingob, if he did not know, that since these allegations are made, that he should initiate an internal investigation to determine who received monies? But even when we are asking these questions, we know that he's not going to do what we are asking. Any president of a party, in particular a party that is in charge of state resources, should be able to be transparent enough and to clear the name of his or her party by doing the thorough investigations necessary to ensure that his or her party comes clean. It is not enough for Mr. Geingob to say that Swapo has audited reports. Audit reports merely reconcile the numbers that people submit. Audit reports are not forensic in nature. They are reports that compile and structure the finances of a party's activities. Should Geingob not, in respect of his party internally, launch forensic audit so that a clear determination is made regarding how monies were used, who authorized payments, if he doesn't know, and who received how much and for what purpose? Perhaps as part of the campaigns, they were paying Edgar's and Jet Stores and Pep Stores accounts maybe for their people, maybe buying fuel, food, maybe cattle, goats. Some were maybe buying BMWs. Who knows? But the country needs to know. And introspection is not the way to do it. An audit report, forensic audit report, if Swapo is committed to fighting corruption, is the first step he should take. The second step they must take, in our view, is that they must voluntarily submit each and every financial statement, each and every name of a donor, whether from inside or from outside. They must submit those documents voluntarily to the Anti-Corruption Commission to look at these things, if they are serious about fighting corruption. Submit it to the ACC. Voluntarily sit down with the ACC to go through all of these documents so that the country is able to know who funds Swapo, how is Swapo funded, through which resources of the state, who are its political funders, with what interest in and outside this country, and that we are therefore not in a situation where this country is sold to the highest bidder who pays Swapo's election campaigns, because that is the reality. At the same time, Swapo must also disclose its funders' names and institutions to the ECN, because clearly they are the party that has the biggest purse and has access to the greatest resources of the state to use those resources in the way that benefits them. Thirdly, ECN itself must demand from Swapo to account as to the use of the funds. Last year, political parties came together at the ECN, and in the discussions that we have had, we agreed to certain amounts of donations to be made for political campaigns, a limit for donations from inside the country, as well as a limit from donations from outside the country. I speak under correction, but I think political parties agreed that a maximum of 5 million or 4 million must be obtained for any donation from outside the country. If this money from the Fishrot saga, as is alleged by Esau, was channeled through a lawyer's firm, and it exceeds that 4 million, Swapo is itself in breach of agreements that were collectively made by political parties last year. It is in a gross violation if it received more than 4 million from outside, because the presumption is that while the resources are Namibian, the money came from outside. What is the ECN going to do about it? Are they going to act on this? Are they going to request Swapo to account how they got the money? Are they going to ask lawyers to disclose what their involvement was? We proceed. And state that basically the Southwest African People's Organization has become a criminal organized syndicate. If there were individuals, including Nahas Gideon Angula, who knew that there was money making rounds, as a leader of Swapo, if Nahas knew that there was money making rounds, and if he knew that these monies were sourced from outside, he had the responsibility under what we call POCA, the Prevention of Organized Crime Act, to report the suspicious movement of money into individual hands. He had a legal responsibility to report this to the Inspector General of Police. That is what the law requires. If he knew, it seems he knew, but he did not report. We are interested to find out how much Nahas knew about the money from outside, doing rounds to pay people, and why did he keep quiet? Why is he keeping quiet and only speaking now? Why did he not speak? Because he was protected under the law but also required under the law to speak. It seems also that Mr. Geingob does not recognize the detail within the Electoral Act. We should ask the journalists to send a copy of the Act for Mr. Geingob, the Electoral Act, because it is a gross failure on his side. He who signs off laws that he did not know that the Electoral Act of 2015 wants disclosure of where you get your money from. Is it that he generally does not know and just signs off laws? Is it perhaps something that we must ascribe to his very advanced age, that he may have forgotten? Because it seems also that in yesterday's press conference, he made a very powerful assertion that he does not believe that the accused persons in custody now are guilty. Is it a question of age that he makes these statements? Is it a question of ignorance? Is it what advisors give him to say? Is it the Attorney General that is not advising the person which laws are applicable to whatever press event or statement he has in respect of the particular question? Is it that he did not know? Or is it that he basically does not regard the laws of the country, that he says the types of things he says? There is a law, Mr. Geingob, the electoral law, that demands from your party to disclose its funders. You have also, secondly, a responsibility under the Prevention of Organized Crime Act, Mr. Geingob, to report any other of your individuals, not just to fire, but to report any other inkling of organized crime in this country to the Inspector General of the Police. Maybe we must highlight and send these provisions to Hungary so that Hungary can give to the President. Because it's very shocking that a head of state has scant regard for the existing laws. And yet it's the same Swapo people that will say the rule of law is important in this country. But when it comes to them having to adhere to those laws, they simply say these rules, these laws don't exist. It's a dangerous day in our body politic. Now, I want to make an impassionate plea to Bernard Esau, Saki Edward Shangala, James Hatukulipi and Fite, and the gang of 6 in prison. In your darkest moments, because of your most unpatriotic deeds, the truth can set you free. The allegations that surround you, Bernard Esau, you, Saki, you, James, are very disheartening for the people of this country. There was trust bestowed upon you. You played with it. You broke the future of so many young people. You broke the trust, the hearts of so many young people. But even in your darkest hour, you can still do the right thing. You can still do the right thing. You can still, for as long as you are alive, do the most patriotic thing for the people of this country and speak the truth. We are available if you want us to visit you in prison to hear your full disclosures. Or if you want to speak to other people, perhaps bishops, church people, so that you set the nation free from the scourge of corruption. Esau, Saki, tell this nation how much the money that was eaten is. Tell us where these monies are, so that the nation is able to get back its money for the sake of our children. Tell us the names of the individuals with whom this whole process of this Fishrot saga was facilitated. Call them out. Name them. Set yourself free. Speak the truth. God the merciful will hear you. All that Namibians want from you, Bernard Esau, Saki Shangala, James, and all of you, is to tell us the truth and that you repent from your sins. Your darkest moment can be the strongest light if you know where to call on that light. Speak up. You will never be ministers again. You will never get into politics again. But you can save future generations. You can help us to unbundle the network with which you are doing these things. Be brave. Be courageous. We will not be condemning you, but when you speak the truth, Namibians will embrace you, and you will have set this nation onto a different trajectory of transparency, of honesty, and your children and your families would not need to walk in shame if you speak the truth. Only the truth is the option that you have now. Because Swapo party yesterday has clearly deserted all of you. Swapo party, the Southwest African People's Organization, has said to you, Bernard Esau, Saki Shangala, and everybody, that you are on your own. You don't matter to them anymore. Southwest African People's Organization is making you the sacrificial lambs in this whole saga. But the networks are still intact. Be brave. Be honest. Set yourself free with the truth. Applications for bail is not your answer. You know you want to get out of prison. That is not the biggest answer to your challenges. Look at your innermost. Reflect on what you have done. And free yourselves, mind and spirit, from the clutches of this evil pandemic called corruption. You are still young. You can still enjoy productive lives after you have told Namibians what has happened. Take the nation in your confidence. Take us in your confidence, and we will ensure, together with you, that justice is done. That is your patriotic duty to the people of this country. I say I'm speaking to Bernard Esau, to Saki Edward Shangala, to James and to Fiti and all others. Set yourself free. Set yourself free. And you will see how the load of lies, once you offload them, will never be part of your journey. Every person gets a second chance. Fight for your second chance, because Swapo and the continued lying and fighting that they have projected is not your second chance. It is us, the Namibian people, that will be your second chance. And it is God to whom you will eventually answer that will be your liberator. Seek his face and speak the truth. Call on us, call on bishops and other clergy that you trust. Reveal everything that you know. Reveal it. Don't be shy. Reveal everything you know. And even more things regarding corruption cases in every aspect of the government of this country. Reveal it. Reveal it. Because you know so much. From the oil deals to the oil storage facilities, reveal it, everything. So that one day we can celebrate and say, truth has prevailed and sense has come to town. Of course, it will be important that President Geingob demonstrates support to the ACC by giving it more resources on an urgent basis to deepen its investigation. I also call on the Law Society of Namibia, given the affidavit that was, or the sworn testimony that Mr. Olivier gave, as well as the assertions made in the affidavit and in the subsequent court matters that arose in the Q&A cross-examinations last week, that the Law Society of Namibia must also begin to launch an investigation into the trust accounts of Caesar Namanje and all other lawyers that are implicated. There must be investigations. At the same time also, the ACC must extend its investigation to all service providers, musicians, artists of all sorts that were performing at Swapo events in the last elections. Everybody. Food they bought, cars they fueled, vehicles that they were renting, T-shirts, caps, everything that Swapo printed or used. Every service provider, from those that provided pens and papers, every one of them must be investigated. Why? Because the nation needs to know, did these service providers receive payment directly from Swapo, or did they receive payments from law firms? We must know that. Who was paying musicians? We must know. From whose account did it come? Because it could be, it seems, that monies may have been from trust accounts of law firms, probably directed to service providers to avoid Swapo receiving money directly. So the conspiracy thickens, the net broadens, the crime enlarges, the entanglement grows stiffer. And winter is coming for Swapo. Winter is coming. ACC must intensify its work. Police, commercial crimes unit must intensify its work. And Law Society must intensify its work. What we'll be doing as LPM is to carefully look at what is within our legal remit. For instance, we'll be looking at whether we can lay criminal charges against Swapo or individuals of Swapo. We will look at this carefully. We will be consulting legal practitioners carefully so that we actually lay charges, criminal and otherwise, particularly in terms of the POCA, the Prevention of Organized Crime Act. We'll have to see. We will, of course, also, after this press conference, communicate to the Electoral Commission of Namibia to call them to task on their responsibilities regarding the Electoral Act and the protection of that act so that they are able to implement the provisions of that act fully. We would have loved, as a country, to have a major event or two, a public demonstration that would show our rage, our anger, our disgust with the corruption in this country. But because of COVID, we are unable to do so. But we call upon our young people to remain strong and remain united. Once we are united as a country against Swapo, there is nothing that can stop us from removing Swapo party from power. We have elections coming. They are going for an introspection. They think maybe they want to involve more young people after the introspection as a way of apparently trying to dissuade other young people from leaving Swapo. That shouldn't be able to work. The Swapo brand, the Southwest African People's Organization brand, is the enemy of the people of this country. It is that brand that is destroying the opportunities for young people who are qualified, who cannot get jobs. It is that brand that has made thousands upon thousands of Namibians homeless and landless. It is that brand that is now privatizing state resources and enriching themselves in ways unimagined before. A 1.3 billion in Kazakhstan. That is just one account that was revealed. How many other accounts are lying idle in private bank accounts in countries that you and I would not be thinking about on a daily basis? Who would have thought that they would put money in Kazakhstan? Maybe there are other monies in Mongolia or Tajikistan or God knows who, or Croatia, or wherever. In countries that we find fairly obscure, they may have placed huge resources of this country and the people of this country. We must remain united. The President, Geingob, is not committed to fighting corruption. Swapo is not committed to fighting corruption. They have benefited from corruption. They have articulated laws to facilitate corruption. They live from corruption. We can never trust a single word that they say in fighting corruption. Never, never. There are others who are politically opportunistic. Who, when things are difficult, never comment and give their views. But they want to be presidents of the country. Some of them are now registering new political parties. But when things are tough, they are not there. Their voices are not heard. They are conspicuous in their absence. But they want to be political office bearers in the country at a difficult time. Some of them that have applied recently to be registered, they have never even condemned corruption of Swapo. Some of them fought to get back to Swapo. Some of them, even when they were fired from Swapo, still proclaimed they are Swapo. Yet they want to be elected as leaders in this country. Those type of politicians are the ones that are merely looking for a chance to get a chunk from the Swapo voters to get to power, merely to form a coalition government with Swapo in our analysis. I want to hear Dr. Ithula. What is he saying about these issues? It is not just about going to court. It's about giving an opinion on issues. Where is Dr. Ithula? Where is he? Dr. Ithula, where are you? Why are you not speaking up? Why are you not speaking up? Or did you speak and I didn't hear you? Leaders must be serious. We need a united front to fight corruption. And to be honest, and I'm speaking from the heart, the Southwest African People's Organization is a waste of time, is a waste of energy. It is nothing. It has become a complete empty shell. That's why they are angry with journalists. That's why they are frustrated with everybody that is asking them questions. And I'm telling you things that you know as Namibians. If in the 4th month of the 2nd term of Mr. Geingob, they are unable to deal with this matter of corruption, how do you think this term of office will end up? We are also calling upon the international community, and we will communicate with them, to sanction individuals not only mentioned in the Fishrot saga, but to put economic and travel restrictions on the leadership of Swapo party. It's important because we can't have these individuals who are leaders of Swapo parading as representatives of the people of Namibia and of our needs, speaking to the international community as though they are genuine representatives of our people. We can't have that. We are asking them, the Americans, the European Union, all others, we are asking, and will do so formally in writing, to put travel restrictions on these individuals, but also to put them on lists of corrupt individuals in their individual countries, and to take assets of Swapo leaders in their countries, freeze those assets until the Fishrot issue is resolved. Freeze the assets of these political office bearers, including those in government, ministers and others. Freeze their assets, whether these assets are in the United States, whether these assets are in Kazakhstan, in the European Union. Freeze the assets of these individuals entirely, so that as a country we're able to deal with this matter in a very deliberate and detailed fashion. Because if international pressure is not applied on these persons, they will have free rein to do trading, to take resources, sell them to the highest bidder, and they will continue to live lives largely. While our fishing sector is shedding significant number of jobs, they have brought in European fishermen just last week who were transported with Tunagor buses from Hosea Kutako Airport to come and do fishing, while our own fishermen are being laid off. This is the challenge we have. You can see how they are making the international individuals more important than the local individuals, the citizens that need jobs. That's why you have seen Mr. Geingob saying he needs to have his performance checked, not by Namibians, but by outsiders who have not voted for him. That's just precisely how they are bringing in fishermen from European countries that have not voted for them to come and do fishing, make money, provide for their families, while our own people are being chased away from jobs. They have not also held accountable the former board members of Fishco. They have just let them go. Leon Joster has not initiated any process, and they have appointed new persons like Mia Gaumap and Melka Mugunda on the board. The former board of directors must account. Did they not know anything that was happening as board members while Fishco was used as the conduit to rape this country from important resources? Those board members must also be held accountable. Sirka Ausiku, the former governor of Ohangwena, what is the man that makes these chicken sounds? What is his name? Uskongamwa. They must be held accountable. These are important legal requirements, both in terms of the Companies Act, in terms of the Act of Fishco, that there is a fiduciary responsibility for board members to know what is happening in the companies, and therefore that they must answer to the ACC what they knew, how much they knew, why they were approving certain decisions. They need to know. that they must be held accountable. It is not decorations to be made board members. It is not about decorations. It's about executing an important national responsibility in protecting resources of the people of this country for the future generations that must benefit from these resources. So Namibians, the time has come. The young people out there, we love you, we appreciate you, we are fighting for your future. Those that are taking from your heritage, we are working hard to find ways under very difficult circumstances, to find ways to deal with them. Stand with us. Don't be dissuaded or persuaded by fly-by-night political opportunists who do not take patriotic responsibilities seriously. If in today's politics you just go in for the purposes of removing another person on the basis of their ethnicity, your politics is wrong. If in today's political environment your voice is not heard around the question of corruption, yours is not to be in politics. If in today's political space you are not fighting hard for the young people of this country, for jobs, for reducing and eventually removing inequality, for removing poverty, if today you are not prepared and ready to be assassinated, to be jailed for speaking the truth, if you are a political leader and you are not prepared to pay with every cost that you can humanly pay, your duty is to stay home. Stay home with your wife and children. Eat your food, drink your water, stay in your lane. But the responsibility of today's political office bearer, from whichever political party, should be to rush in the protection and defense of the future of our children and our grandchildren. This is what the country requires. We need statesmen and women that are strong in courage and that have conviction of truth to stand up and speak up and be heard. Not just to go around attending funerals, going around attending weddings for the purposes of gaining votes for November, but to stand up where it matters. Young people are suffering. Young people are suffering. And if as leaders, this committee that Geingob put up yesterday, if you are quiet on that committee, that joke, that facade that they put up, we know that you probably also benefited some way or the other from that type of nonsense. On that note, we wish to thank each and every Namibian that stands with us. We are building a political party on the basis of truth. We are building a brand that is geared toward uniting the people of this country to give us a new hope, a new opportunity. We are building a political party that can transform our lives. It's not an easy task. It's not an easy task. We are told in Omaheke that they are starting to recruit exclusively some former defense people on the basis of ethnicity because they are preparing apparently for the eventuality of a civil war. We've got that information and we are telling young people it's our future. Of course, I'm a little bit gray now, but you know what I mean. It's our future. It's our children's future. If as young people we stand tall, we stand united, we organize ourselves, we vote them out of power, and in November they retreat, and in a year or so we are able to have a strong revolution to remove them from power, we are doing service to ourselves and to our future. The time for an Arab-like spring is nearing the doors of Namibia. This is the types of moments where the Arab Spring type of revolution must come to our shores. We have had enough of this nonsense from Southwest African People's Organization. I thank you on that note, and I'm prepared to take questions.